So during DevStream 112, there was a few things to quickly go over everything else. The sacrifice is going to come before TennoCon. They hope. It was hopefully before TennoCon. Exalted weapons are going to be moddable outside, so Exalted Blade will be moddable by itself instead of running on melee. Same with Valkyria's ultimate, that will also be it. I'm assuming Atlas as well, because Atlas has one. Just to name a few. Probably the biggie from it though that everybody can take, depending on if this comes before or after the sacrifice. Hopefully before. Hopefully they can kind of rush this one out, because khora wasn't what we expected. Now I like khora. I don't use her as much as I was really hoping to, but I do like khora, even before it changes more after. But there is a new one. It's an Eidolon revenant based frame. It's a frame infected with sentient energy. And honestly, this thing looks badass, to put it as nicely as possible, with a passive that is an inert lifesteal that steals health and shields. Yeah, that... I'm just looking at this frame and it does... Just from the gifts that they had, this thing looked amazing, especially in the dark. Just the flames and everything. I hope that's a fixed part of it. And that alternate helmet having the flames come out of it as well. Yeah, I really am. I like the look of the frame, but the abilities... they look good for the frame, but at the same time speak a lot to other frames. The first ability... wow, what's the best way to put this? It turns them into drones and makes them immortal. Recasting it will make them attack other enemies and also inflict them with the same ability. You basically have an invincible army. I don't like the invincible part that much. Kind of could be overkill depending on how limited it becomes, but hopefully the immortal part's just on the first one. When you recast it so they go out and attack other people, then maybe that will remove the immortal part of it. The second ability stuns enemies who attack you and allows you to cast your first ability, which none of these really had names, but it allows you to cast the first ability and it will cost 0 energy. That, I've tried to see what frame that works on, and apart from when enemies hit you they freeze for frost, there isn't many that actually works on, because you can count that as Frost's first being used when they hit you, but that's his passive. So, not really sure. But the third one, he turns into a mist. Yeah, Wukong much? And this mist, when you pass through enemies with it, kind of has the same as his passive. The mist steals health and shields of enemies you pass through, inflicting them at the same time. There is a few people who've told me he could possibly go invincible during this, but if you look at the footage, his health stays red and his shield stays blue. When you go invincible, it goes grey. So, not sure how well that would be. Obviously, you would have less damage because you're a mist. Possibly? I don't know. Frame's not out, and none of these are finished abilities. The fourth puts any inflicted enemy to sleep. Equinox, by the way. Which is just... it was weird to see this actually being used, but putting them to sleep could be really useful. It all depends on that first ability, turning them into drones, recastable to make them attack other inflicted enemies, or non-inflicted enemies, and then inflicting them. Whether or not that has a limit as to how many you can have on it. It has to. You can't inflict everybody, because you could literally have a defense mission where it's covered in enemies and they're all fighting for you. It would wave lock, so you wouldn't be able to progress to the second wave because the enemies aren't actually dead. So if it does have a limit to it, putting them to sleep, it just all comes down to that limit of how many people you can inflict at once. But the synergy between all 4 abilities actually looks like this thing is going to be quite a fun frame, and probably one of the best visual frames we've had in a while. The Eidolon themed blue flames is... yeah, here's another frame. Ember. This is very other frame orientated. Or you could say it's that way, but at a certain point we all knew this was going to happen anyway. But damn, yeah, the Ember Prime's flame helmet doesn't stand up to this. This is flame effect on a whole new level, and really, abilities aside, as long as it's got a nice amount of health, shields, armor, this could be a new main frame, because visually that just looks absolutely amazing. No date for any of this though. This was just kind of a, this is the next frame we're working on. Actually has progressed a lot from the early views of this though, because the early views of this was just kind of a sketch, and now it's a frame that has abilities. So that's why I was saying hopefully it'll come really soon, because I was looking forward to Khora, but after so long, she just didn't really live up to the hype. Though, again, I do still like Khora. This, I'm hoping it's a, here's an image, a couple dev streams later, here's what it's going to look like, a couple weeks later, here you go. That would be great. Nezha and Wukong were really close to each other, so fingers crossed, but with the new Prime on the horizon, who knows? We'll obviously find out in time, but we'll leave this off here for now. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch yous next time.